fixed the mic problem to wear the headphones now, so I'm.
Hey guys, this is another playoff bracket state championship edition here as we're previewing the state championship games in the Superdome this week. This time we have the Division II Select State Championship coming up. I'm Jay Lejeune, joined by Alex Allison, Daryl Felker of Gridiron Football, alongside Grant Sachere as well of River Sports Media and Crescent City Sports. And we're going to talk about Division II Select. And I had a good feeling about this, but the road was going to be treacherous for the Archbishop Shaw Eagles. It was. So after defeating John F. Kennedy 21-14, they had to hold on and beat Madison Prep 35-28 was the final score of that one. But the Shaw Eagles are going back to the state championship game. Coach Hank Tierney, what a story that has been going back for a couple years. Ponchatua retired, came back to coach Archbishop Shaw. In just a matter of a couple of seasons, he brought the Eagles back to the state championship game, and they have a lot of great weapons on the offensive side of the football with Mason Wilson, the two Michigan commits as well, Jasper Parker, Jacob Washington. But it's really been the defense making a difference in this game. Shaw was up 35-14. Got a little bit of a push. Got to give credit to Madison Prep. They never gave up, came back and made a touchdown game. But Shaw was able to close the deal and head to the Superdome. They will take on E.D. White, which will be making their first trip to the Superdome with a 41-13 win over Leesville. E.D. White totally dominated this football game. Xavier Ford definitely had his. He wasn't completely shut out. He ran for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, but they did enough to make sure he doesn't go off, and they did a great job of limiting Leesville's passing attack. Grant Barbera had a great football game leading this E.D. White offense, and they put up 40 points against a really good Leesville team as well. So your state championship game, which was predicted by a lot of people at the beginning of this bracket to be Archbishop Shaw and E.D. White for the right to win the state championship game. Now, guys, we'll give y'all a chance to preview the state championship game. Grant, I'll start off with you because I know you're very high on Archbishop Shaw, the job that Coach Tierney has done, this whole coaching staff has done, the talent that they've had. We knew that the road to the Dome was going to be treacherous for Shaw, but they're able to survive those matchups against some really good athletic teams in John F. Kennedy and Madison Prep. Now you got a really good team overall, and E.D. White that's well coached, like Coach Kyle was saying, like you mentioned, since Kyle was saying has taken over the job. E.D. White has been the winningest program we talk about in that area since he's taken over. So great championship matchup. E.D. White, remember they were in the state championship game, but they had to play in Cajun Field against U High, and they're now in the Dome. Shaw has been a long time coming for them since the mid 2000s, late 2000s, since it went back to the state championship game. So great matchup between Shaw and E.D. White. Grant, who do you have?
Yeah, so this is a matchup between two option teams, of course.
Yep.
E.D. White runs the option from the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
They run out of the wing tee. I think it was the wing tee is it wing tee?
The wing tee, yep.
Okay, yeah, so the wing tee, and then Archbishop Shaw runs the option, except they run it out of the spread.
Yeah.
Right. So, because Tierney was an option guy from Mr. Creed, and he switched to the spread, of course, as demodernized, the game of football. Yeah. But these are two option teams. There's two teams that like to run the ball. These are two very physical teams. Both have great defenses. Of course, Shaw is a very young defense, but they've done a great job. The 28 points was the most they've given up since the beginning of the season against Rummel. But before that, they had only allowed the most they allowed was 14. So this is a very good Shaw defense. E.D. White, on the other hand, their defense is led by Charlie Diedrich, who's a fantastic player off the edge. He's arguably the Cardinals' best defensive player. So I think this is gonna be a really good game, Jace and guys, because I think both these teams are coached really well. Kyle is saying, and he's one of the best coaches in the state, and really a lot of people don't really talk about him for some reason because he's always done a fantastic job with this program. This is the second state championship appearance in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I think, he's had a lot of success since he's taken over that program, and really because there's going to be some jobs opening up pretty soon. He might be in consideration for some of them because he's done a fantastic job with this EDY program. But I think I'm going to give the edge to Shaw. Because I'm going to give the edge to Shaw. So I think they have a little bit more speed on the inside and the outside. Jasper Parker, the running back, he's committed to Michigan. I think he's gonna make the difference in the world. Having a guy like Mason Wilson who can not only run the ball effectively but throw the ball down the field effectively. You have two receivers in Jacob Washington, who's another Michigan commit, and then you also have Gavin Richard on the opposite side of the field. This is a very good Shaw team, and I think it'll be close. But I think Shaw's speed at the end will make all the difference in the world.
That's a good point, Grant. So, Daryl, you've actually, I know both of you all have actually seen E.D. White play, but Daryl, I'm going to start off with you. You saw him against Letcher. This is a really good Shaw football team. That's a lot of explosive weapons. But we've seen E.D. White's defense do a really good job against some explosive teams this year. So, what's your thoughts on this matchup and what are your thoughts on this football game?
As Grant said, I feels like we say it for every matchup that we have in the Dome this year, but it's really just going to be a really good game. I feel like it's kind of a toss-up. I will say I did go against Shaw last week. I was the only one. I was rooting for the underdog, Madison Prep. While they kept it close, Shaw still that 35-14 lead. When you get out to a lead that big, I've seen it all season. It's really hard for the other team to come back, especially when you're facing a team as skilled as Shaw. So, I think if they get out to a quick lead this game, it's going to be kind of the same thing where E.D. White will stay in it, fight back, kind of like similar to the Letcher game, Jace, where it's like they're hanging around in it, but they just can't get over that hump to actually win the game. But I think if they come out and they play not perfect, because nobody plays perfect, but if they play their best game, I think that they have a good shot at taking down Shaw. So, I think this is going to be a really good matchup. I am going to roll with Shaw to win the state championship. But once again, I think this is going to be a really good matchup. Can't really go wrong picking either way.
Yeah, Alex, I know it's kind of tough because this is your bitter rivals here. When you're talking about Vanderbilt Catholic, right? So getting close to home there. But E.D. White, you've seen this team play this year as well. A little bit differently, different outcome than probably than we saw him against Letcher, a different type of game. But just seeing E.D. White play and, and Shaw and how explosive they are and how much of a good team they are with it being the favorite heading to this bracket. Just give me your thoughts and what's your prediction for this football game?
Shaw by 40 in my completely unbiased opinion. No, I'm kidding. On a serious note, I actually think this is the game with one of the most narrow range of outcomes in it. I think it's possible E.D. White can win, but I think most of the time we're going to get a game, like if we, replayed this game 10 times or something like that. I think we get a very similar game most of the time, which is E.D. White's not a team. The floor for E.D. White's really high, right? They're not a team that's going to get blown out by Shaw. Mm-hmm. Shaw's not going to get separation against E.D. White. I don't know if E.D. White's ceiling is high enough to beat Shaw particularly often, though. I think they would need a lot to go their way. I think most of the times this game gets played, Shaw's going to win by between 7 and 10 points. Something like 27-20, 24-17, 27-14, 27-17, something along those lines. That Shaw's never going to separate. They're probably never going to trail. They're both very good teams, but I think Shaw's just a better version in some ways, a more physical team, E.D. White's a very physical team, but I think Shaw's just a little bit better. And I think Shaw will win most of the time in this game. I think they will win the game. And I think E.D. White would need a lot of things to go their way in order to win, personally.
All right. E.D. White fans, come at us because once again, I repeat everybody as well. I'm going with Shaw too. I even said multiple times when we talked about this bracket, I thought it was going to be no offense to E.D. White. I think they're a great football team and well coached, and they're a disciplined football team. But I just thought the matchups and the type of speed Shaw was going against constantly throughout the playoffs, whether it was JFK, whether it was Madison Prep, those athletes. I think that kind of puts a little bit more stress on Shaw because they have that speed as well. Ed White's a really good football team, and they've proven that they can slow down one of the best running backs in the state, Xavier Ford, and they could potentially do that with Jasper Parker, but I think Mason Wilson is the X factor here, and I think that's something that they haven't really seen, a quarterback that's an X factor, a game changer like him at the quarterback position, and I think he's going to have a big game with his legs. I can see him having a really big game here. He'll try to do. I mean, you can't stop both guys. They're in the same backfield. You can't stop both Jasper Parker and Mason Wilson. I don't think Ed White is going to be able to stop both of them. So I agree with Grant with the speed being a big part here as well, and already having played that type of speed and being two teams that are similar to them in terms of their speed and athleticism. I'm going to go with Shaw here too. This is the game I had in the Superdome anyway. I had Shaw playing Ed White. I think it's going to line up to where we thought going into it. I think Shaw is the better team, and it's been a long time coming for Shaw, and it's going to be a great story. Shaw's only won one state championship under Coach Tierney, and that was in the late 1980s, and he has a chance to go back, and in his Hall of Fame coaching career with another state championship for Shaw. So I think the stars are aligned that way. And I'm going to go with the Eagles here to win the state championship. But Ed White fans, come at us. If obviously, bring it on, bring the heat on. We'll take it. There we go. But yeah, Ed White. This is the first time playing the Superdome as well. I mean, they played in the state championship game a couple years ago, but it's different playing in Cajun Field. No offense to Cajun Field, but it's different than actually playing in the Superdome. So that victory is definitely a little bit different. So be a great matchup, Shaw and Ed White, and I believe that game is going to be on Friday too. So that's going to be a great matchup. I know Daryl will be there. That will be the first game you'll be covering, Daryl, of that 3-game series. So it'll be on Friday at 12 o'clock between Shaw and Ed White. So make sure to check out that coverage of the game at gridironfootballusa.com. Or Crescent City Sports will have coverage of it as well. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to go and check out all of our content. We can find all these playoff bracket shows at gridironfootballusa.com.